A blissful day to everyone! Merry Friday! Today, let's move on to Chapter 7, which is Learners in Other Marginalized Groups. But before anything else, let me formally introduce to you the following members of our group. First, we have Lotario Saira, Ciliano Kristen Joyce, Tagabunlang Jessa, Tihamo Kate Julian, yours truly, and last but not least, we have Verano Jovan. So here are the lessons to be covered for today's discussion. First, let's tackle about marginalization in education. Next is marginalization and inclusion. Lastly, different learners in marginalized groups. Alright, so that's it for our introduction. Now let's proceed to the formal discussion. First, let's discuss marginalization in education. Okay. In this section, you will understand what marginalization means, specifically in the area of education. You will learn about different groups that are marginalized in society and in education. We will explore a process that could be used to identify issues of marginalization in class or school. There might be situations that you are not aware of about marginalization issues, and it is important for us future facilitator of learners and for adults as well in the school community to be aware of this issue so that an appropriate response can be given. For you to better understand our lesson, we have to know first what is marginalization. When we say marginalization, it is a multidimensional process that denies opportunities and outcomes to those living on the margins while enhancing the opportunities and outcomes for those who are at the center. Now, how about marginalization in the area of education? Marginalization in education is both an outcome and a process through which individuals or groups are systematically denied their right to acquire academic or social capabilities through education that results in their exclusion from social institutions, civic processes, and economies. In other words, marginalization is powerlessness of certain individuals, and some of these powerless individuals are IPs or indigenous people. To conclude, there are children who are part of indigenous group. They are distinct socially and culturally. They are also differed from how they live, thus, they cannot keep pace with modern nation. Particularly in school, they are sometimes discriminated due to their uniqueness, and sometimes they cannot adapt with the school culture. As you have noticed, there are only few indigenous children who choose to study and interact with common students due to the differences and discrimination that they experience. Now, to support this idea, according to Dickey and Clark of 1996, cited by Michaud of 2012, the theory of marginalization can trace its roots to the theory of marginal man, which at first pointed to the peculiar traits that arise when a person is situated in a marginal position among two social environments that are not completely matched. In addition, Robert Park and Everett B. Stonquist analysis of the marginal man focuses on an individual who is born and raised in one culture and is immersed in a different prevailing culture. It means that this transition situates the individual in an enduring interaction and connection with a different culture, religion, language, race, and political belief brought about schooling, intercultural marriage, immigration, or other reasons, according to Goldberg of 1941. Further, Robert Park aptly identifies this individual as person who becomes a cultural hybrid, meaning living and sharing intimately in the life of two distinct people, and willing to break with his or her past and not accepted by the outside world. Also, according to Green of 1947, a crisis experience becomes a personal concern when the individual is rejected. Again, a crisis experience becomes a personal concern when the individual is rejected. This would also mean that marginalization naturally starts before children get into school and persists until they become an adult. The United Development Program of 1996, as cited in Michaud of 2012, also defines marginalization as the state of being considered unimportant, undesirable, unworthy, insignificant, and different, resulting in unfairness, deprivation, and enforced lack of access to mainstream power. In its 2010 Global Monitoring Report, UNESCO stated that education plays a vital and decisive role in neutralizing the inequality and persisting illiteracy that encompasses generations. However, education can also support prejudice and continue marginalization. The report also states that those who are marginalized usually exhibit lower levels of educational attainment. In general terms, marginalization in education originates from culturally intense beliefs, values, and typical norms that regulate recognition or acknowledgement of other people within a specific social standard. It is a form of acute and persistent disadvantage rooted in underlying social inequalities. The highest form of marginalization, therefore, is an insufficiency in the availability of education. Going further, MISHA of 2012 discussed about the issue of labeling, wherein learner is categorized as belonging to a certain group depending on a learner's need or challenges. MISHA of 2012 emphasizes that it is not identical to marginalization. In some countries, labeling meant supplemental resources, especially in education. Those supplemental resources are certain teaching, learning strategies, techniques, physical and emotional requirements, and services are provided for the learner. There are also some other countries that labeling would only have detrimental effects to learners being shamed and ridiculed. If we look from a different perspectives, learners not having a label or not belonging to a group is also counterproductive. Why? Because they will not be given attention or importance. Marginalization, therefore, has distinct interpretation to people in divergent situations. It is better thought of as progressive concept that changes between situations and times. Again, it is better thought of as progressive concept that changes between situations and times. So here are four general ways that MISHA proposed that marginalization can be conceptualized by our learners. First is the child experiences some kind of marginalization that is recognized by almost everybody, including himself or herself. Second, the child feels that he or she is experiencing marginalization, whereas most of the others do not recognize this. Third is when the child is found in what appears to be marginalized situations but does not feel it or does not view it as marginalization. Lastly is when a child is experiencing marginalization but does not admit it. Okay. So MISHA suggests that these perspectives of the students can provide a way of examining processes, systems, and occurrences in schools and may assist in the awareness of and response to marginalization. It is important for adults in education and for us future educators to be conscious of this issue and put a stop to it.